As you can see though, it's still wanting to warm up, and it's got its feathers ruffled up, creating a warm blanket for itself. The more it extends its feathers, the thicker the layer of insulation becomes, and the warmer they are. And they're really pretty little doves. They've got that very distinctive black ring around the back half of their neck. And it's this bird that lets off one of the most characteristic and distinctive calls of Africa. And it's often one to make South Africans homesick. If you were to hear this bird calling on a documentary or any program you may be watching, it'll immediately make you miss home.
Sun.
The sun is slowly beginning to make its way up. And James is slightly elevated compared to where I am, so I can't see as well as he can, but you can see an orange glow picking up there. Well, I think we've waited in this area for long enough and done enough listening here, so we can leave this little Cape turtle dove to continue its morning. I would have loved to do its call for you, but it wouldn't have done the call justice. But some of you will know their call often can be remembered as it rings out similar to saying work harder, or drink lager, depending on your preferences. But if I do hear one calling later on, I certainly will stop and get you all to hear it. I don't know how that sounded, James, but probably terrible.
Very good, very good.
Well, for those of you that know Brent, I'm sure you're all looking forward to saying good morning to him, and for those that have yet to meet him, enjoy what he has in store for you. We'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Morning. Welcome on a live safari. My name's Brent. I've got Andrew on camera with me this morning. We are hot on the trail of a female leopard. We found the tracks quite early this morning, and we've been following her. She's disappeared into the same area where the same block where that Nyala you've just seen is feeding. So we decided to stop and listen in this area, see if we could hear any alarm calls. Oh, excuse me. But welcome on the sunrise safari. Bit of an overcast day, but it looks like the sun's going to start clearing up this cloud quite soon. And hopefully, with this cool weather, the cats are going to be moving a little bit longer. And those who are on the sunset safari realize that at the moment it stands at leopard 1, Brent 0. And hopefully we're going to be able to rectify that this morning. But quite warm compared to what it has been because of the cloud cover. The cloud has insulated the heat from the day, so all the warm air rising has been trapped by the cloud. So it is quite warm this morning compared to what it has been the last few mornings. So hopefully we're going to have some leopard luck. So our plan from here is we're going to head up central to Drakensberg and then slowly meander around back towards Buffelshoek Dam, see if there's any tracks coming out that way, because this block leads up towards Buffelshoek Dam, and hopefully we get some luck. And also thanks to all the people watching the Djuma cam last night. Really appreciate that. I know that leopard that bewildered me yesterday popped in for a visit after 9 o'clock last night. Very, very, very frustrating. and then also of that big herd of buffalo that came down. Thanks for letting us know about that. We really do appreciate that. If you are new, we are live. You're on a live African safari with me. You're sitting on the back of my game drive vehicle, and we're exploring Nkuhuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, and it's part of a vast, immense area of unfenced natural wonder where animals can roam freely. That is the Greater Kruger National Park and the Transfrontier Reserves in Mozambique and Zimbabwe. So we're going to continue on, and hopefully one of these animals that wanders this vast wilderness will decide to be a little bit more accommodating than yesterday and put on a show for us. But even if we don't find anything, there are lots of wonderful trees, bushes, bugs, grass, flowers. Well, not so many flowers at this time of the year, but lots of different things to look at if the big and hairies and scaries are playing hard to get. I see something there. Quite a difficult spot, actually. Off the road for a second. There's a big nest. It looks like a raptor's nest. I think I can see a raptor on the nest. Let's try to get a gap through the trees here. I think it might be. Let me just. I can't see what it is from here. We need to go around through the other side. This is really, really great, guys. I think I've worked out what raptors on that nest. I don't want to go too close as to spook them, but I'm going to see if I can find you a gap through the trees. But it looks like it's an African hawk eagle nest. Show you quickly through the trees, and then I'm going to move again. So there's the nest, and just to the left you can see there's a bird of prey there. I'm just trying to find a spot where we can see them a bit more clearly, and I actually spotted that because while we were looking at that in Nyala when we started, the grey go-away birds and other birds started alarming, and I saw an African hawk eagle fly very low and straight through towards that area. And I did not know they had a nest here, so that's exciting. Let me just try to find a better spot. I don't want to go too close to the nest because it'll disturb them. So I'm staying quite far away, but I think we finally, there we go, got a spot. And now you can see how massive that nest is. Now both birds are there. You can see the one sitting up, and then you can just see the head of the other. It's an African hawk eagle, not an African harrier hawk, not to be confused. They're really beautiful birds, black and white eagles, sort of medium-sized eagles. And when you see them flying, they're almost always in pairs. So not an African harrier hawk, which we do see quite often here. This is a true eagle, an Aquila eagle. So I just had an update from Scotty. Apparently they have nested here before. Oopsie. Unfortunately, this book doesn't have a lot of information about what time of the year they nest. So maybe you guys could check on that for me. What time of year do African hawk eagles generally lay their eggs? And you can let me know by emailing. Oh, there he goes. One just took off, and it's chasing the oxpeckers away that are making a lot of noise. And just stopped in the dead tree where the oxpeckers were sitting and alarming. Just to the left, and we go forward a bit, Andrew. Oh. So there's actually a really nice, once we get in, way of seeing that it's a true eagle or an Aquila eagle. If you look at its feet, the feathers extend all the way to the top of the feet. And you can actually see that back talon there. Look how massive those talons are for grabbing small unsuspecting mammals and lizards and legavans. Monitor lizards. See how massive those talons are. Oh, fluffing up for the morning. So as I was saying, if you look at the feathers, they extend all the way to the feet. That is a trait of the true eagles. Snake eagles, like battaliers, which are related to snake eagles, and that you'll notice they have scaly feet, and the feathers stop up the leg. So very interesting. And also all your other smaller raptors generally do not have feathers all the way down their feet. Yeah, a lot of the birds are not happy about them being around. Yeah, the oxpeckers are still complaining. So, as I was saying here, it's number 2. And you see how the feathers extend all the way down to the end of the feet. If you look at the snake eagles, the feathers do not. So there we go, African hawk eagle. Definitely one of my favorite large raptors in this area. But we'll leave them be and head on and see what else we can find. Well, it's a nice way to start with a nice predator, not the mammalian kind, but the avian. So, morning Lulu. I have a question from Lulu. Lulu would like to know, do I mind seeing kills? Oh, that's quite an interesting one. Obviously it can be quite tough and quite gory, lots of blood and guts, but I actually love seeing kills. It's sort of part of the thrill of the chase, and being in the right place at the right time, reading the animal movements and animal behavior to get yourself in that position to see a kill. And a lot of kills happen at night, so we don't actually see them. So it's always very, very special to be able to see a kill. I've grown up in the bush pretty much my whole life, so death with animals and stuff like that is not something that I sort of get queasy about or affects me very much. It actually sort of excites me, which is probably quite strange. But it's because I've been seeing kills since I was very young. I mean, I think I saw my first lion kill that I can remember when I was 4 or 5 years old, and pretty gruesome. Everything was explained to me really well by my dad and the different wonderful teachers I've had in the bush over the years. So I enjoy watching the hunt and the kill. And a lot of the stuff we talk about, like how there's that gap between the lion's canines and premolars that clips the esophagus and stuff. So it puts a lot of the knowledge we've learned and stuff into practice, and you can watch it sort of unfolding in front of you. Oh. He's a male in Nyala. He was browsing off a...
Yeah, I'm gonna check around along the Kent boundary if there's some other still around here, but I doubt.
And there's a young male coming in behind. So Nyala aren't territorial. They roam in home ranges, and you'll often find groups of males together, and they only compete with each other when there are females around.
There was also
So thanks very much, Katrina. Katrina sent me some information on the African hawk eagle eggs. In the southern hemisphere, which we are, they can lay any time from April to January. So the fact that they're sitting on the nest now, there's a strong possibility, that they are possibly having an egg there. So we definitely have to keep an eye on that nest and see what's happening over the next few months, if there is a chick that's going to come out of there. We're going to continue on up and try to get around to Drakensberg Road, and in the meantime we're going to cross back to Scotty and James and see what they've been up to, and we'll be back with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, and the sun is doing its best to break through a small gap in the clouds, and it's making for a beautiful, beautiful sight. Look at that. Absolutely awesome. And equally awesome camera work from James. Thank you, sir. And we're really lucky because not only are we parked in an area with an incredible view that we're all enjoying with you now, but there are some little animals around, but they are hiding behind the bushes, so we're just going to enjoy this. And look at how quickly the clouds are moving, and it's almost as if a spotlight is being shone down from the heavens. And look at how awesome that is. Well, good morning, Jilly in Wisconsin, and thanks for sending through your question. Jilly noticed that the bird we saw earlier, magpie shrike, also known as a long-tailed shrike, and Jilly noticed that there's also shrikes in America, and they can be quite ferocious little predators, these shrikes, and they will often kill other birds or small animals and impale them on thorns or barbed wire fences. And that's the same as some of the shrikes in South Africa as well. And they often referred to as butcher birds for this habit of impaling their prey onto thorns or barbed wire fences to come and feed on later. The magpie shrike, however, does not do that I'm aware of, that I've seen. It's possible that they do, but they certainly are predatory. Their long tail, though, I guess makes them slightly less effective predators than regular shrikes, which may therefore have a larger diet or variety of possible prey that they can feed on. But the magpie shrike is mainly insects that I'm aware of. And as you can see, our friends that we're hoping would pop out from behind the bushes, this little sounder of warthog, have done so now and are very relaxed with us, which is great. It's probably because we're in fairly open terrain. When we find them in thick vegetation, they often go trundling off. But yeah, they're very relaxed, and you can see they're busy looking for breakfast. And you also would have noticed that they go down onto their elbows, essentially, when they're feeding. And they do this simply to create an easy angle of leverage that they can use their nose to dig up little roots and bulbs. And I've noticed two females. It could be a mother with those two small piglets there that would have been born at the end of last year, and then the bigger female could be a surviving offspring from the year before that, as they typically spend about 2 seasons with their mothers before heading off. And there's also a large boar off to the right. He's actually busy sleeping at the moment, and we're not going to have a great view of him, but you will be able to see him, and he could well be tagging along in the hope that either of these two females could be coming into season soon. And that would make sense. A lot of the herbivores are mating at this time of the year so that they can give birth around the first rains in October, November, December. So I think that's what his plans are, and it looks like he's sulking almost. He's not even getting involved in looking for breakfast. And I think he's here with ulterior motives. Well, morning, Mary in Michigan, and thanks very much for sending through your question. Mary has asked whether the presenters, Brent, James and myself, who've been trying out our hand at the art of being a cameraman over the last week or so, and Mary's interested to know what our thoughts are, having only presented in the past. What do we feel about the hardships of being a cameraman, being tossed about on the back there as the presenters race from place to place. And Mary, it's such good practice for us and such good exposure for us to see how difficult the cameraman's job is, and just to understand work from their perspective, even though we spend hours together every day, by not actually experiencing their job, it makes it difficult for us to understand the hardships involved. And it certainly has been a great learning curve for all of us. James, I think.
Great learning curve.
There we go.
Not an easy job.
So, we, as happy as we all are to have had this exposure, Mary, we're equally happy to hear that Phil's coming today.
Thank goodness for Phil.
But it is a very good point that you've raised, Mary. And another very daunting role that us presenters fear is that of the directors. It's important to remember that they've got a lot going on in that room, and while we're out exploring in the fresh air, they are stuck inside a closed room with so many computer screens and technological things that actually scare, I know, Brent, James and myself. So they've also got a very tough job, and one that we should probably also try out at some stage. I've been avoiding it at all costs.
No, not for me.
And James says he's planning on doing the same. Well, it's been a wonderful morning, and I'm glad to hear that it sounds like all of you really loved that beautiful spotlight or ray of sunshine coming through the clouds. And again, well done to James for capturing that so well. But we're probably going to leave these warthog now to continue feeding. But before we leave, we'll get one more question from Anne-Marie. And Anne-Marie would like to know if warthogs are herbivores or if they are actually omnivorous. And like most pigs, they are omnivorous. I've seen one chewing on the leftover skin from a duiker kill that a leopard had made. And I've heard reports of many other instances of warthogs feeding on various types of meat. So they will, but as far as I've seen, they are predominantly herbivorous or herbivores. Have you ever seen them eating meat?
Seen them chewing bones.
Chewing bones. So between James and myself, who collectively have a fair amount of time in the bush, I've only ever seen it once, and it was chewing on the leftover skin from a duiker kill. Okay, well, Anna-Marie, thanks very much for sending that question through. And imagine if we saw these warthog take off and catch something small or eat something small. I guess a lot of the time, if they will be feeding on meat, it would be potentially chicks that are born in nests on the ground, and as the warthogs may be shoveling their nose through the undergrowth looking for snacks, they could potentially come across baby chicks that they would then may decide to gobble up. And the clouds are slowly beginning to break. We're going to be seeing, well, we are seeing a little bit more blue sky. Earlier on this morning, it was completely clouded over, 8/8 cloud cover. Now, if I look around and get out my calculator, I'd say it's about 4 or 5/8 cloud cover, but turning into a beautiful day. You'll hear some parrots calling louder and louder as they fly past us. And that was them flying over the top of the trees. You may have just seen a little bird flittering above the canopy there. That was a brown-headed parrot. keeps it exciting for us, and I hope it keeps it exciting for you too. Now, I know when we haven't heard from Brent for a while, it's actually typically good news, because it means he's going to be searching intently for some kind of animal. I think it's a leopard he's tracking now, and it was really great being on camera with him yesterday, because he gets a certain charge of energy when he is on the trail of an animal, and it's great to watch. And you guys get to see it all the time. I don't. So yesterday I enjoyed it, and I can just imagine him now scanning and searching through the bush for whatever he can find. Question through from Susan in the Netherlands. Morning, Susan, and welcome on board with us. Susan brought up a question regarding that boar warthog, that adult male warthog that we saw sleeping off in the bush next to the sounder where the females were. And I said that he was probably intent on mating at some point with her. But Susan would like to know, will this boar, just like a male lion or a male leopard, kill the offspring or kill any other males in order to get to the female to mate? Now, unlike predators who have to invest a lot more time in actually suckling and raising cubs, the herbivores don't have that same need, and therefore every season they will be free to mate. So there's no need to kill off offspring to allow a female to give birth to more, because by the time the following season comes, her offspring from the previous litter will already be not self-sufficient. They may still require her care, but not to a degree that a lion or a leopard would. So lion and leopards, if a male comes across a female with cubs that are not his, he will kill those cubs to release the female of that responsibility and therefore get his genes into the system. It's typically not the same with herbivores, but there will certainly be ferocious competition between the males. So at the mating seasons, like now we've just come to the end of the Impala rutting season, there will be furious fighting between the males for the females, and that does result in death. I've on 2 occasions found Impala that have been killed by other Impala. For a fact, you could see the puncture wounds, and it was during the rutting season. Pigs, though, or warthogs, more correctly termed, I've never actually heard of one boar killing another boar, but just because I haven't heard that doesn't mean it hasn't happened, and I'm sure that at some point warthog boars will fight to the death. They do have very sharp tusks that protrude from the bottom jaw. The bigger ones actually protrude from the top jaw, but those aren't very sharp, and it's the ones from the bottom jaw that are razor sharp and inflict a lot of damage. So I'm guessing that at some point, fairly often probably actually, that warthogs do get, maybe not killed, but do get fatally wounded and then may die later from those injuries. Good question though, Susan, and I've very seldomly seen warthogs fighting. I remember once up in the Nwanetsi concession in the Kruger National Park. It's a beautiful, beautiful wilderness area. About a third of the way up the Kruger Park, but on the Mozambican boundary. I remember seeing warthogs having a clash there, but all we could really see was clouds of dust billowing up. A lot of zebra tracks up and down here. There's been the herd of zebra spending quite a lot of time in this general area, so we could bump into them at any stage. Had a great sighting yesterday with Chris. He was here just to check out our operation and for WildEarth to check him out, and he loved his time with us, but now we're basically just in a process where, because we are looking to expand, we're getting as many guides exposed to WildEarth as possible so that they know whether they would like to get involved with us, and we know whether we would like to get involved with them. And Byron is another person who you will meet. He's arriving tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be doing 2 drives on Friday, both a morning and an afternoon drive. Again, just like Chris, we all know one another. Brent and James know him a little bit better than I do, but he's a great guy, and just to let you know, you will be meeting Byron, who's also just coming to see what we do and whether he would like to get involved with us, and vice versa.
Come again?
Morning, James, and welcome on board with us. James sent through his question on Twitter, and for those of you who would also like to send questions through, it's really easy. You would just hashtag Safari Live, or you could even send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. James is asking whether warthog provide a food source for people in South Africa and in the surrounding villages, and yes, they would certainly to a degree. A large reason for that is that they can burrow under fences, and basically fences aren't a sure way that they will be kept in a place, so they can go wherever they like to go, and therefore will often break out of reserves and feed on local farmers nearby, causing trouble with their crops. But the African cultures that we have here in South Africa, the Zulu people, the Shangaan people, or Tsonga people from this area, and the various other tribes, all really like the taste of wild animals. And unlike areas like East Africa, where hunting is not really done very much unless by unique tribes, South Africa, all of South Africa's tribes were active hunters many years ago, when there was a lot more food around and a lot less farming done, or a lot less wild animals around, should I say. So I think, yes, warthog certainly will be high up on the menu, but there's not too many wild animals that do occur outside of nature reserves, like here where we are, and the few that do will probably get gobbled up fairly quickly. Good question though, James. Another reason that makes them quite easy to feed on is that they live in burrows and termite mounds, no different to hyena and porcupine. And if you know where that burrow is and where they're going to sleep, which is fairly easy to do, you just look at the tracks leading into these burrows, you can set a very easy trap to catch them. And poachers will use what are called snares, which is basically a wire noose that you can put on the entrance or exit to a burrow or on an animal trail, and as an animal walks through, the noose will tighten around a limb or the neck, therefore trapping the animal, and the poacher can get back whenever he decides to check that trap or snare. And it's a very cheap and efficient way of catching animals, but it's sadly very, very inhumane. As you can imagine, the animals will suffer for long periods of time or potentially even lose limbs to the snares. And it also cannot discriminate from one animal to another. So even though a poacher's intentions may just be to catch an impala to feed his family, if a leopard walks down that same pathway, it will get the same treatment that the impala was supposed to get. So those are the realities of, well, poachers can catch food and the negativity around that. So the plan now is to just touch into Arethusa again, shadow a female leopard and a cub. I've been spending a lot of time on the boundary of Arethusa and Juma, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to rustle her up from a bush here somewhere. Brent is still alive, so don't worry. He's out there searching, and funnily enough, I've just got a report that he would like you to all come across and jump onto his vehicle for a while, so enjoy whatever he has found, and I'm sure he has found something. We'll see you a bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. We have been scouring the sort of northeastern corner, and we came on our eastern boundary. We found the tracks of a pride of lions, and we were sitting there going, oh, I hope they don't go east. I really hope they don't go east. Unfortunately for us, they crossed west. So we've checked around, and there's lots of tracks everywhere. It looks like they were chasing buffalo from the tracks I can see, and I had my eyes glued on the road, on the tracks, and Andrew just goes, lion! So we're going to move in a bit closer now. So we've just found the lions. I'm not sure which pride it is yet. Once we get a bit closer, we can have a look. So very exciting. Not quite the leopards we're looking for, but I'll take a cat victory after yesterday. So here they all are. Probably lying about 50 meters from the right. Excellent spot by Andrew. It's so useful having our cameraman with us, because it gives us a chance to concentrate on the tracks, and they can keep a lookout for the animal. It does look like it's the Nkuhumas that have crossed back. They're looking very hungry. That one I just saw stand up. Hello, kitty cats. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the full pride's here, and there's the young male. Oh, big yawn. Just going to move the vehicle a little bit more so we can have a look at some grooming. They might move again. I think they've had a busy night from the tracks. All the toing and froing that I could see. And it definitely looks like they were chasing buffalo, but not successful. So we found the tracks on Cheetah Cutline, and we saw that they were heading west towards Buffelshoek Dam, so we zoomed around to Buffelshoek Dam and then came onto Hippo Pools Road, and they're lying up just to the north of Hippo Pools Road, about halfway between Buffelshoek Dam and the eastern boundary. Oh, nice grooming going on. Well, the Nkuhumas have been spoiling us with their presence quite a lot over the last while. a bit of de-fleeing or de-ticking. And you'll see your domestic animals do that, and sometimes they'll even do that to you. I'm hoping because of the overcast weather they might get up and maybe go for a walk towards the dam, but I think they've had a long night and a busy night chasing, so they could be quite tired. And that's just judging from all the tracks and buffalo tracks running all around and lion tracks all over the place. So it was quite a difficult track this morning, but fortunately we managed to stay on the tracks and we found some lions. Very nice little bit of grooming going on here. So it's actually got colder since we started this morning. Quite often happens on these overcast mornings. The wind's picked up a little bit, added a bit of chill.
Something's off. Still feeding on the road.
So guys, I'm just going to let the rest of the game drives know that we found them.
Where's the officer? Between the steering and the throttle cut. Right, cool. And then you make it that time. Everyone goes and make it.
When I get a chance to chat on the radio. But they are looking quite hungry. Not in dire straits by any means yet, but definitely could eat.
But slowly, three of them still are up. I don't think they're gonna go.
Texan coming.
Yeah, go.
Tex, we've located the Nkuhumas on Hippo Pools Road, halfway between Central Junction and Buffalo's Hook, if you are closer to these Nyala.
Okay, copy that, thanks. Maybe I'll come this time.
Oh, I think we might get a sort of shot of brilliant light coming through. You see that young male's eating a bit of grass. Maybe he's got a bit of an upset stomach. But there looks like there might be some nice light just sneaking through the clouds shortly. It's amazing how much he's grown even in the few months that I've been here. Oh, I got a feeling they look like they might move. So those of you who might be new, you hear that clicking. Don't worry, that's just me taking a few photographs. So he looks a little bit better fed than the others, and that's probably because he takes the lion's share. And already at this age he's bigger and stronger than the females and will dominate around the carcasses. Hi Jean, welcome on the Sunrise Safari and Nkuhuma Sunrise Safari. That is the name. Jean would like to know the name of the pride and how to spell it. It is the Nkuhuma Pride, Nkahuma, Nkuhuma. And I'm going to let the other viewers out there who know this pride quite well tell you exactly what Nkuhuma means, so you guys can send in your answers to me as well. What does Nkuhuma mean? Where did this pride of lions get their name from? And you can do that by emailing us questions at wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So for those who might be new, you're on a live African safari with me, and at the moment you are sitting on the back of my game drive vehicle looking at a wonderful, beautiful pride of lions that we were tracking earlier this morning, and we've been lucky enough to find them. They are looking quite hungry, and from the tracks I found earlier, they have been chasing buffalo through this area last night, but obviously you can see with no success.
Yeah, they're not small.
And they're by no means in dire straits.
All the two that were calling early at 5 o'clock and then disappeared at 6 o'clock. That must be somewhere on the border here. All that they've gone back.
Hi, David from Michigan. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. David's saying that I mentioned that in the past I've seen some very large prides of lions. 53 was the largest I saw in the Masai Mara. And then I've seen prides around 40 in the Eastern Kruger National Park where I worked. And David would like to know, prides this size, will they bring down one prey or multiple prey species? It completely depends on the prey. It is completely dependent on the prey. So if they catch a giraffe or a buffalo, one will suffice even for a large pride, but not for as long as, say, for a pride this size. But I have seen those large prides will kill even an impala, and 30 lions fighting over one impala is quite a sight. So guys, we're going to cross across to Scotty really quickly. He's got something interesting, and we'll be back shortly.
Welcome back, everyone. And this is really interesting. There's a tawny eagle. It's a very pale individual, but we're not exactly sure what it's feeding on here. We saw it running around trying to stomp something with its talons, and there may be an insect emerging from the ground there. As you can see, there's also Burchell starlings fluttering around nearby. And we just wanted to stop a little bit further away to make sure it doesn't fly off. And let's watch and wait and see what he does here. When I say he, it could well be a she, so let's rather say what it does. Not easy to distinguish male from female. Unless they were sitting next to one another, the females would often be larger than the males. That was a hardy-dar ibis that let off a call that you may have heard, almost like a cry. Wow! And how awesome is it that Brent found you the lion? I told you that when we don't share anything from Brent, it's good news, and very well done to him and Andrew for tracking down the lion. We've been really lucky with the Nkuhuma Pride over the last few days, and let's hope that luck continues. I guess one of the problems with lions is finding them is the one part of the problem that is difficult to solve, which Brent has done very well today. But then getting them to actually do something is the next problem, as they spend so much time sleeping. But at any point while they are asleep, they could either get up and decide to move off and go hunting, especially on a cool day like this, or something could stumble upon them. So still very good prospects. Now, I can't resist but go a little bit closer and try and see exactly what this tawny eagle's up to. So we're just going to creep forward ever so slightly and see what we can find. We're here on the Arethusa airstrip. It's a very large open area. And because we've stopped and are approaching this bird slowly, I'm hoping it's going to be fairly relaxed with us. Also the fact that it's really focused on feeding here. Don't want to scare it away. Let's see how that works out. Awesome. You can also see the Burchell starling hurriedly running up and down, gobbling up whatever these little insects could be. I'm guessing it could be possibly termites. They're really high in protein, and even though they are small, they provide such great nutrition to a lot of the animals. And I remember in November when there was the reproductive termites, the flying ants emerging from the termite mounds, we had a beautiful sighting of a hyena gobbling up these small flying termites one at a time. And if you eat enough of them, like I said, they provide really good nutrition and are high in protein. I'm wondering if this isn't possibly a juvenile tawny eagle. And there's two reasons why I'm thinking that. Number one, its coloration. It's very pale and it seems like its face is darker, so maybe it just hasn't got its full adult plumage. That's just one theory, but a contributing factor to me thinking it's a youngster is maybe the style of feeding it's doing. A lot of young carnivores will have to kind of lower their standards to a degree until they perfect the arts of hunting. And this could be an example of that. It hasn't done it since you've been with us, but like I said a little bit earlier, he almost ran after something and clamped down with its talons. And who would have thought that we'd have a tawny eagle and a Cape turtle dove feeding alongside one another? It's a herbivore, the Cape turtle dove, feeding just on the grass seeds, and then this far larger predator, the tawny eagle, feeding just meters away on some small insects I'm almost certain of. Now, I know we're not as close as all of us would like to be, but I'm trying to creep up to this tawny eagle as slowly as possible to not chase it away from its breakfast buffet here. And James is at full zoom, but let's try and see if we can now creep a little bit closer. By moving in slowly, like we have been, it'll certainly make the bird or any animal feel more relaxed rather than just racing in on it. So I'm hoping that this technique is going to allow us to get a little bit closer without chasing it off. I'm so tempted to get to that area to see what it is that all these birds are feeding on. It's abnormal for insects to be very active at this time of the year. It's mainly summer that we expect large insect movements. And what a morning it's been with birds of prey, and I forgot to mention and congratulate Brent for also finding the African hawk eagle's nest. I had heard from other guides in this area that there has been a pair of African hawk eagles nesting on Djuma for the last few years, and it's so awesome that not only did you get to see a great sighting of them, but now we know where their nest is. And I believe Brent was explaining that one of the main characteristics of a bird of prey that makes it an eagle as opposed to a falcon or a goshawk would be the fact that they have feathered legs. And this tawny eagle is a prime example now. We can clearly see the feathers going all the way down those legs to the base of its talons, whereas other birds of prey that lack feathered legs will not be eagles. There is an exception to the rule though, because snake eagles for some reason have managed to still be called eagles even though they have got unfeathered legs. You can see there's a very slight mound of earth that they seem to be feeding around, and that could again be the top end of a termite mound that's slightly protruding. It also seems very well fed on, and it's often the case that the grass that goes on and around termite mounds is more nutritious and palatable than other grass, and that means that they often get grazed very short, and that little patch there does look quite well grazed in comparison to the grass behind the little mound and in front of the little mound. Let me see if we can get a little bit closer now that we've won over this bird's confidence that we're not here to cause any trouble. Rather than driving directly towards them, I'm going to try and kind of approach at an oblique angle. Ah, no. Oh, did it try and catch something there on the way past? Well, look at this. This is awesome. And I am astonished at how well James is doing at filming this. So well done, James. There's the hardy-dar ibis in the background. And I think James has just found himself a new career. That was awesome. Well done, James.
Thank you.
Apologies to the tawny eagle for chasing it away from its breakfast. But what we're going to do is we're quickly going to go and have a look at what it may have been feeding on, and then drive off, and it can very easily just fly back here. It knows where the food is, and it's not our intentions to have chased it off, but even other animals, and we are essentially part of this ecosystem, will chase various animals as they go about their day. So it does happen. Now, this is where it was. And James and I are going to see if we can find anything here. It's not looking easy at this stage, but in the meantime, I would suggest that we send you back across to Brent and the lions see what they're up to, and we're going to try and work out what this tawny eagle was feeding on. We'll see you later.
Welcome back, everyone. We're just going to shoot across to the lioness quickly. Oh, they're lying up amongst where this old waterbuck skull here, and she was playing with it a second ago until I turned around, but that's what happens. But it does look like they're starting to get moving. All this big social grooming and playing. The adult lionesses have moved off to further away to the right. And obviously the young male is still left behind. You know, the two young females there who are playing, giving each other a hug. Very important, all the social grooming when it comes to lions, because they are so aggressive around mealtime, that in the downtime between meals, it's very important for them to have a lot of contact, physical contact and grooming, and that strengthens the social bonds within the pride. What I'm hoping is that they might get up and start moving towards Buffalo's Hook. So two of the lionesses are up and moving, slightly off to the right. Look at that. Oh, see if we can get there quickly. I'm going to try and move around. They are moving towards the road, which would make life a little easier for us. So well done to Bren and Marlene. There might be an ambush. In the grass is one of the young females walking through. Sorry, well done to Bren and Marlene, who got the answer right to what Nkuhuma means. It is the brown ivory tree in Shangaan, and from the history I've learnt about of this pride, they were first seen under a brown ivory tree by the Juma guides, and that is how they got the name Nkuhuma. They were all sleeping under a big brown ivory tree. So well done to Bren and Marlene. So this is very typical lion behavior. Get up, move a little bit, stretch. And stretch, lie down, listen, get up, move, stretch, lie down, listen. But they are definitely looking like they're going to move. I think what these girls are doing now is actually listening to see if they can hear any possible prey species ahead. So there's one of those little young females in that clump of grass. I mean, how is that for camouflage? Now, if you were an unsuspecting prey species walking around and all the lions were lying in grass like that, you would not see them at all. There comes the young male. You can see they don't particularly like walking through long grass. You see how he closes his eyes, and that is why they do like to use the flop. Very, very common lion behavior. Go flop on another member of the pride. So now there are 2 lions and a young male who's quite big in that clump of grass, and you can see how little we can see. And one appears. Sorry, John, back to your question about size of prides determining prey selection, and how many animals would a very big pride of lions have to eat. Well, I know that pride I used to follow quite regularly when I worked in the eastern part of the Kruger. Cleaning the claws on a tree, unfortunately behind a grivia bush. They often would have multiple kills in a night. I think the record I had is they killed, and that pride of lions was just under 40, and they killed 4 zebra in one night. So obviously a lot of it depends on the prey species, but what happens when these prides get so big is that they will generally split, because it's not sustainable unless you are sort of in an area like the Masai Mara where you have that migration to keep a pride of that size together, because they need to constantly kill, and sometimes the prey can be a bit few and far between. So quite often those big prides will get to sort of a point when then they'll split into sometimes 2 or 3 smaller prides. And that's not to say they won't come together, but over time that they are not together, there will be sort of separation, and they might even be completely separate after a few years. Hi Lynn, welcome on a very cloudy and overcast sunrise safari with the Nkuhuma Pride. Lynn would like to know, do lions' stomachs growl when they're hungry like ours do? Well Lynn, I have heard them growl, the stomachs growl a couple of times. I don't hear it as often as I would with people, so I'm sure they do growl, but maybe not to the same degree as ours did. It would be quite a hindrance if you were stalking and your stomach was making a lot of noise and giving away your presence. So we're going to cross back to Scotty. We're not going to leave these lions. They are slowly looking like they're getting moving, so we're going to stay here. Hopefully they get a little bit more mobile just now, and we're going to go have a look at what very interesting small creature Scott has got.
Welcome back everyone, and we found what the Tawny eagle and those Burchell starlings were having for breakfast. Look at this hive of activity. Absolutely awesome. Now, a lot of you may be saying that these are termites, so well done. Yes, they are indeed termites. But they're a specific kind of termite. You get many different kinds of termites out here. This is the harvester termites. And you'll notice a few individuals carrying small blades of grass back down into their subterranean home. So they don't build mounds that extend above the earth. These are completely underground. Unlike the large fungus-growing termite, which creates the large mounds in this area. And as you can see, there are hundreds of them, even as James now moves further afield from the entrance to their termitarium, their underground chambers. Now, these harvested termites will typically forage for little blades of grass at night time, and they need to do that because you can see their bodies are very white, except for the soldiers, which you may have noticed, which are darker in color, and therefore would get blazed by the sun. So we think that they may be out and about today, making the most of this overcast weather. Now we can see the real action as they all try and jostle for position to get back down into the chambers below the ground. And there's a little hole there that they are all depositing little pieces of grass on. Oh, awesome. We are in luck. We're about to join these Burchell starlings for their breakfast, and here they come. And even though we are so close to them, they just could not resist the opportunity that is here. Like I said, these termites will mainly feed at night, but because it's overcast, they're probably making the most of this opportunity. Most days during our winter months are actually quite hot and sunny. And these Burchell starlings, oh, look at that, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I mean, 9, 10, 11, 12 already. Look at how awesome this is. Not for the termites, sadly, but this is an absolute blessing in disguise for this Burchell starling. A meal like this and an event like this can make such a difference in a predator's life, and it certainly doesn't happen every day. We also very seldom get to see action like this from so close, and I cannot believe how awesome this is. We were actually watching the starlings. They were perched on a tree about 30 meters away, and James and I both said it's not going to be long before they come down here. And look at how beautiful their feathers are now that we're so close. Even without any sunshine, you can see them glistening and shining depending on the angle that they are sitting at. Now, something to bear in mind, it is a theory, but one worth sharing with you, and it's believed that the biomass of termites exceeds the biomass of mammals in this ecosystem. So all these tiny termites we are seeing collectively will weigh more than all of the mammals that occur in the Kruger National Park. And that goes to show how many there are and how critical they are in the nutrient cycle. If it wasn't for them carrying these little dead, unpalatable blades of grass down into the ground, where they can then further feed on them and break them down into a state that the earth can reuse them, we would lack a huge amount of required nutrients. And again, that's just a theory, but one that's hard to wrap your head around. I guess what it means in today's case is, even though the Burchell starlings are having a field day, there are millions and millions of termites, often that we never see. And just like these harvested termites, they will mainly forage at night time. So this is a rare glimpse into their activity. Another interesting theory regarding termites, and it's regarding these termites in specific, the harvested termites. When you see them highly active during the day, because it is uncommon, it can often mean that there's rain imminence. They are good natural indicators of rain. And wouldn't it be interesting if we did get an uncommon winter downpour after getting this signal from the termites? I wonder if they've all disappeared after that brutal attack from the Burchell starlings. I think they could have decided against, I don't know, a few members of this colony were sacrificed for the greater good, and the rest of them are still hard at work. Okay, Robbie in New York. Thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. And I thought about it earlier, but I thought it would be better if one of you asked me to do this. Now, I am going to pretend I'm a Burchell starling and go down and get myself some breakfast. So stand by, and I'm going to let you know what these little bugs taste like.
Yeah, get Tawny eagle, Rob.
Where are we looking?
Yeah, come just where the lens is facing. There you go.
Okay, everyone, so like I said, they are very, very high in protein, these termites, and the Tawny eagle, the Burchell starlings have fed on them. And I have fed on different termites when I was a little kid growing up. Those were the flying ants or reproductive termites of a large fungus-growing termite. So these are actually I've never tasted before, and I look forward to it. And I'm going to take one of them now. And I guess you could say this is research in a way, and there are lots of them. And I'm sure the Burchell starlings won't mind if I just have this one individual. So here goes. To be honest, I couldn't taste too much. A slightly, very slightly acidic taste. A little bit crunchy. All in all, highly nutritious meal though, and now I don't need breakfast when I get back to camp. Now, if we think about how useful these animals are in terms of the evolution of humans, it is believed that without termites, we would have lacked a great easy opportunity to acquire food. And we even see with chimpanzees now, they've learnt how to feed blades of grass into the tunnels and chambers of where termites will be living, pull out the blades of grass, and then lick all the termites off them. So even other primates, not just myself this morning, will feed on termites. And I think in terms of mankind and how we evolved, our ancestors would have spent a lot of time feeding on these animals. It's an easy source of nutrition. And as you can see, there's so many of them. So the quantity overrides that tiny size of theirs, and you can actually get a very decent meal in a short space of time here. But I do feel that we are hogging this breakfast buffet, and we have potentially overstayed our welcome. So the harvested termites sadly are going to lack now the protection that we've been providing them for the last few minutes, even though it wasn't completely Burchell starling proof. Good morning, Marilyn in Canada, and thanks very much for sending your question through. Marilyn has thought about the repercussions of having termites on the lodge areas, and they do cause a lot of hardships for most of the lodges in this area, because naturally, these termites will seek out any wood they can find. Well, not necessarily these ones. These are grass eating. You get other individuals, like I said, that will focus on feeding on dead wood. And those individuals do create hardships for camps. But thankfully now, there are also very hard woods that are used in the camps for two reasons. Structurally, obviously it's very useful that they are very hard and solid woods, but then also from termite points of view, it makes it very difficult for termites to penetrate and eat into certain trees like leadwoods, for example. But they certainly do cause trouble, but it's one of the prices we pay out here in the bush. You've got to get used to, as much as you can, living alongside not only the big and furry animals, but also the small little ones like this that can create a few hardships. Good question though, and just looking at the structure up ahead of us, it may well have been treated with something that would prevent termites feeding on it, but even with a specific treatment, I'm fairly certain that it won't be long before that whole structure needs to be replaced. You wouldn't want to be wobbling around all the way up there on a termite-ridden platform. Still got the taste of that termite in my mouth. I can't quite put my finger on it. I should have probably had a few more, but I didn't want to be greedy. And I didn't want to steal the Burchell starlings breakfast. How interesting though, and what an awesome thing to see. When James and I initially saw that tawny eagle, we saw it from a long way off, and my initial thoughts were that it was a secretary bird that's being seen here on the airstrip a few times. But as we got closer, this whole story unfolded, and I hope you enjoyed being along with us for it. Well, the conversation on Twitter, and you're all very right, is that how rude of me not to get James a little termite to feed on there. And to be honest, the reason why is, for some reason I felt bad stealing the animals' food. We've got a fridge full of food back at home, and anyway, sorry James about not incorporating you.
Yeah, I'm not hungry.
Yeah, James had his breakfast before he came out. And from what I've noticed, James prefers eating leaves and soil and those kinds of things. He's not big into the crawling creatures. So we're going to have to find him some leaves to feed on. But while I've been telling him that he likes feeding on leaves, he's been telling me that he's found some leopard tracks. And how awesome. He was leaning over the side of the car and has spotted some leopard tracks. So I am going to jump out. It's going to be very difficult for you to see them, but I'm going to attempt it. So just let me reposition the vehicle. Or even better, I think there might be a spot just up ahead here. Yeah, there's a decent one just up ahead here. That should work. And if James just... And just up by that stick there, I think, where's the track? Up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to see, but you can notice a very slight pad mark in the sand. And these are what look to be female leopard tracks that are heading down this road. Now, in overcast weather, oh, that's a good one there, where we can see a large back pad. But again, in these conditions, when it's overcast, it's very difficult to see tracks, but they do continue down this road in the direction we're going in. So well done, James. And judging by the location that we're in, as well as the size of these tracks, they could well be the tracks of shadow. And as we carry on down this road, we'll check very carefully. to see if the cub is here, but it sounds like Brent's got on down this road. We'll check very carefully to see if the cub is here, but it sounds like Brent's got some good action over with him. So while we work this out, enjoy the line. We'll catch up with you later.
Welcome back, everyone. Here you've been having fun with Scott getting his morning protein intake. I would have definitely enjoyed watching that. We're still with the Nkuhumas. They've got up, moved a little bit, got up, moved a little bit, then they've all laid down again. Haven't moved very far, maybe about 20 meters. We're out with the 2 young females on the edge. The rest are sort of in a pile to the left of us. We'll move around now, but just wait, Andrew, go back to this one. She's stalking by the looks of things. Another lion. This is game time. I'm just going to move us so we're in the right spot. If she decides to charge immediately. Charge.
Yeah.
While I was trying to get around.
There's a tree right behind us.
Oh, thank you for that, Andrew. That could have been quite bad. Oh, and it's quite a big one. I don't think we would have won that battle. There we go. That is the tree I nearly reversed into. Behind the tree, of course. Lazy lions, I think they did have a very busy night, and that's just judging from the tracks. If you guys have just joined us, you were sitting on the back of my safari vehicle in the Sabi Sands, South Africa, at Nkuhuma Private Game Reserve, and we are watching a Lion Pride live. So you are seeing the lions at the exact same time as me, wherever you are in the world. We're also interactive, so you can ask me questions about what we're seeing on Safari right now, live. And you can do that by emailing questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. So, from the tracks we found earlier this morning, this Lion Pride's been chasing buffalo for the majority of the night. They haven't had any luck, as you can see. They are not full, and there's no buffalo corpses around. But they look like they might get active just now. But they've slowed down again. But they are hungry, and the reason they probably haven't got active, even with this really cool overcast weather, is due to the fact that they probably exerted a lot of energy last night chasing buffalo without success. So they are sort of building up their energy stores again, resting for a hunt later in the day, hopefully. Hi Russell, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Russell's got a question. How do I explain the behavior of these lions as opposed to the lions that killed someone recently in the lion park just outside Johannesburg? Russell, those are captive bred lions. They have lost their natural fear of man and of vehicles. I think the main reason that those lions associate the vehicles, oh sorry, there's a spider web, associate the vehicles with food and try and get in the windows and that, is because those animals are fed from the back of a vehicle. So they will associate all vehicles with food, whereas the lions here do not at all associate the vehicles with food. They also have an instinctive response to man when we're on foot or when we're walking during the day. And that is due to the fact that modern-day man and modern-day lions came into being at around the same time, between 150 and 200,000 years ago. The reason for this is that we were direct competitors. Lions developed into the dominant diurnal predator, and we developed into the dominant other way around. We developed into the dominant diurnal predator, and lions developed into the dominant nocturnal predator. So during the day, we are dominant over lions, and a group of men can hunt and kill a lion during the day. And we are one of the only animals that is able to operate at full function during the heat of the day, where lions are not able to. And that's an evolutionary adaptation, so we don't compete at the same times, even though we might be competing for similar resources. But so those lions in Johannesburg have grown up. A lot of them have been hand-reared. They have no natural fear of man, the bipedal figure of man, that upright figure of man. So if we were to walk into these lions on foot now, more than likely they would actually run off and move away from us, being daylight hours. At night, very different story. At night we become part of the food chain. And one of the reasons we head home when it gets dark, it's actually an instinctual response from when we used to live on African savannas, and we knew when it got dark it got dangerous, and we needed to get to a place of safety. Where there's those lions at the lion park, they have learnt to associate vehicles with food. They are fed from vehicles, and that is possibly why they take far more interest in the vehicles, and they have learnt that there's actually food inside those vehicles. There's a very different place and industry to where we are now. These are wild, free roaming lions. Those lions are kept in pens of about a couple of hectares that, in terms of natural, also the natural amount of lions is very high in those areas. You can have 30, 40 lions in a very small area, and they're fed by vehicles. Whereas here, these are free roaming lions. They don't associate the vehicles with food, and they have never been fed, so they have to hunt for their own animals, where those other lions have all been fed their whole lives. That's not to say a lion doesn't know how to make a kill. A lot of the skills that are needed to make a kill are instinctive in a lion, and one way to make a captive lion hunt is if you take it out of its captivity and you leave it in the bush for long enough, it'll get hungry and it will catch something. So a lot of that stuff's instinctive. So you've got high pressure for food in those areas because there's a lot of lions in a very small area. They're fed from vehicles. The lions have lost their natural fear of man. And with our vehicles here, but if we drive carefully and considerately like we do, the lions don't actually associate the vehicles with people. I mean, it smells like petrol and oil, and people don't really smell like what a lion instinctively knows them to smell like, because we've only really started spraying smelly stuff and using soap in the last 100 years in Africa. So we don't smell like people. We smell like deodorant and soap and washing powder, and the vehicles smell like petrol, and that, all which are very inorganic smells to an animal like a lion. If you stand up on a vehicle, a lot of people say it's changing the outline. It's not. All of a sudden they recognize that bipedal figure, because you're breaking the shape, and there is that bipedal figure, which is a predator. And the reason they act badly when you stand up near them, they either run away or become aggressive, is because they recognize that there's another predator close by, and very close to them. So that can make them act negatively. Whether those lions in the lion park have absolutely no, that's sort of been trained out of them from cubs. They don't know that man is supposed to be dangerous anymore. I know it was a bit long-winded there, Russell, but I hope that sort of clarified some of what you were asking. two young females are still being quite active, while the rest of the pride are very much flat cats. Notice there's been quite a lot of eating of grass by a lot of the lions this morning. Maybe trying to set something right in their stomachs. It could just be something to chew on in the meantime, but the young male seems to be doing it more. Maybe he has got a bit of an upset stomach. We're just going to move around to get a better view of the other lions. And in the meantime, we've got a question from Sharon in Ohio. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari, Sharon. Sharon would like to know, do we know who the father of the young male is? I'm actually going to try to get a view of the young male while we're going to talk about him. Seems more appropriate. So, Sharon, to determine who the father of lions, or specific lions is incredibly difficult. Just get spot, boom, or he's just been lain on by one of those young females. There's a strong possibility that he is the son of the dominant male lion coalition in this area, called the Matimba males, but that is definitely not a given. Some really new interesting research has been conducted on lion genetics outside of South Africa. I'm not sure if they've done any in this area yet, but it turned out that 48% of the lion cubs born to a pride were not born from the dominant male coalition in the area. They were bred by nomadic males that sort of sneak in, will mate with a female in estrus and then disappear. Obviously that's quite a good thing in terms of lion things, in terms of genetics. It keeps a nice open genetic system, and that really only works that in areas like this where they're open and the lions are free to move between different areas. Lions are able to inbreed up to 6 generations without too many adverse effects, but obviously it's not ideal. It's much better to have a bigger genetic variety. But it is possible that it is the main coalition, the Matimba males, that have done it, or it could have been a sneaky visitor on the nomadic lion moving through and taking advantage of a lapse in concentration by the dominant coalition. So even though that they are hungry, they are still very much flat cats, and as I said earlier, that's probably because they have been very busy during the evening from the tracks I've seen chasing buffalo, and obviously no success. But it does bode well for us later in the day that they might start hunting. They might even hunt during the day in this cold, overcast weather. But hopefully they'll be good lions and wait for us to get here at 3 o'clock Central African time this afternoon for the sunset safari. Oh, stretch. Quite windy, which will suit them as well. It'll help mask any noises while they're moving. Oh, pesky branch. And obviously there still is a chance they might move this morning, but it's looking less and less likely. Watch them prove me wrong. Come on guys, prove me wrong. Let's go catch something. They are magnificent animals in pure muscle. And if you look at that muscle, you can almost see the buildup of latent energy that's there waiting to sort of be released in an explosion of power and speed. I mean, a lion at full speed in the hunt gets up to about 21 meters per second, which is incredibly fast. Obviously, they're not able to sustain that for very long. They are designed for sort of very big, short bursts of speed and energy expenditure, and then they have to rest. So that's what we're seeing now at the moment, the rest period. And lions, on average, will sleep for about 20 hours a day, with only 4 hours of activity. And out of that 4 hours, you'll probably find only maybe 15 or 20 minutes of real bursts of activity and energy use, unless they are feeding and fighting over a carcass. And their success rate in hunting is not the greatest. It's around, depending on the area, can be as low as sort of 12 to 15%, but normally around 20%. So only 2 out of 10 hunting attempts are successful on average, and it also depends on the area. But if they were too successful, they would eat everything and there wouldn't be anything for them to eat, and they would wipe themselves out. So, while we're looking at these lions, I've got a question for all you guys out there. So, you have 3 very distinct sort of cat families in the world. And, oh, bless you. Those 3 cat families are broken up into 3 different sort of, 3 different orders, or subfamily, orders. You have the Panthera, which is the large cats, which we're looking at now. You have the Felis, which is the little cats, the smaller cats, and then you have Asionyx, which is the cheetah. But we're going to stick with the Panthera, since we're with the largest member of the Panthera family in Africa. And there's a very distinct difference between the Panthera cats and other cats. One major difference, physiologically they're mostly the same, just varying in different sizes and colors. But there's a very special adaptation in Panthera cats that separates them from all the other cats. And who can tell me what that is? Who can tell me what the special adaptation in Panthera, which is the large cats, and they consist of in Africa, lion and leopard, and other members in the world are jaguar and tiger. So who can tell me what is the special evolutionary development that separates Panthera cats from Panthera cats? Is because what is that? So what is that special adaptation? You can send your answers to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Hi, Ron. Welcome on Sunrise Safari, Ron. Ron is from Scotland. Ron would like to know, why does it seem that even when we're camping, thin tent walls will protect us from lions at night, where there's out in the open we would be a target? He says, surely the lions know we are inside those tents. Well, Ron, lions, without going as far as to call them quite stupid, I think stupid's probably the wrong word. They are instinctual. So they need to see the movement, and that thin wall of the tent stops them being able to see our movement. Oh, we're having a big stretch there. So Ron, the reason for that is that, I mean, I was fortunate enough to work on a production with a guy by the name of Kevin Richardson, where we were working with some universities from the States and doing tests on animal responses and whatnot, specifically with lions and hyenas. And we put cardboard cutouts of Impala and warthog, kudu and buffalo out and took lions. Obviously we're very lucky working with a guy like Kevin. He has an amazing bond with the animals he's got. We put these cardboard cutouts there, and we took the lions there, and the lions reacted exactly like that 2D frame was a live animal, and they would run and smash the cardboard and then sort of go, oh, where'd it go? Once it was flat on the ground and they couldn't see it anymore. They could not understand that that wasn't a real animal and it was in 2 dimensions. And so I think the wall of the tent, it just stops them being able to see you. So that is the thing, and they can't see the movement, and being a very instinctual animal, relying a lot on movement and stuff to trigger those hunting responses. Once we're behind the walls of a tent and they cannot see us, makes it much safer. Remember, their eyes don't work quite the same way as ours do as well. So it's quite nice, a lot of this interaction on a cool morning like this. If it had been hot by now, they would be completely flat. And it does look like some of the lionesses have heard something. No, not too serious. Heads down again. Smack you on the nose. That pesky branch in the way. Bite it. See, there we go. There's a perfect example of what I was talking about. When she moved, she bumped that branch, and she probably would have ignored it, but the movement caused her to grab onto it and extend her claws, if you can see. Here we go. So that was just movement. So that instinct, movement, is very important in setting off lions and sort of hunting behavior. Funny cat. Can see she's definitely just playing with that branch now, and it was definitely the movement that set that playing off. I'm still hoping that they move a little bit more today, and hopefully make their way down towards the Buffelshoek waterhole, where there's possibly something for them to snack on. But I said, it looks like they had a long night of attempting to catch things, and that is why they are a bit slow this morning. So while we're going to stay with these lions, definitely not going to go anywhere, Hopefully they do get up and start moving. Scotty's around some water, so we're going to go see if you can convince Scott to maybe drink out of the waterhole this time, if he's been eating termites. So maybe wash down his termites with a bit of dam water, and we'll be with these lions and we'll keep you updated if they move, and we'll be back with you a little later.
Welcome back, everyone. And sadly, the leopard tracks that we were following crossed south out of Arethusa, so we could no longer follow them. But here we are at the Arethusa Dam, and as James is showing you, there's a pod of hippos, and really great, the youngster that you can kind of see to the right of the large one is fairly well exposed, and a few oxpeckers have just landed on that youngster's back. And even though there's not much you can see, that whole body is almost the size of the head, excuse me, of the large hippo to its left. So a good difference in size there, and it's a really wonderful setting here. It's one of the largest dams. I think it's fair to say it is the largest dam that we have access to, and it's home to hippo, a variety of birds. I'm not sure where all the birds are hiding, but they'll be around here somewhere. The oxpeckers, the birds in the back of the hippos, are looking for any parasites that they can find. Oh, and that young hippo is not happy with that idea. So it appears to be trying to buck and bronco until they come off. Or it may just be getting comfortable again. Great to hear that the lions have been interacting for you, and always great to watch the interesting dynamics within a pride of lion, especially when they're a little bit playful. So really happy that you've been getting spoilt with some great views. I hear Brent suggested I should wash down the termite I ate earlier with some of this Arethusa waterhole water, and thanks for that kind suggestion, Brent, but I'm going to pass. It wouldn't be a wise idea to drink this water. I would much rather have a whole handful of termites than even a small cup of the water from this dam. Well, let's continue. And again, a pity the leopard tracks crossed out. On second analysis, we both worked out, James and myself, that they weren't in fact female leopard tracks. I'd got a bit ahead of myself there, and they were actually young male leopard tracks. And who knows whether it was Quarantine or Nkuhuma, possibly either of those two. Now, James has just swiveled the camera, and now we are looking below the dam wall, and there's a family of Nyala going about their morning business. It's great now that we can see a male, a young male and a female in the same shots, as the males do become darker than the females as they get older. But when they're born, they'll have that same orange-colored coat. But he's still a youngster. There we go, there's a good comparison again. I haven't heard any updates on the radio, but that's not to say that there's not animals floating about. We just need to find them, and hopefully the radio problems that we have been having will be sorted out in the coming days. They've built a whole new receiver room for all of the equipment required to house the new digital radios that are being used. But for the last few weeks, we've been battling to communicate with the Arethusa guides. Now it's interesting what we're seeing here, because even though Nyala are typically browsers that feed on leaves, they will also... We're going to continue prowling through this area in the hope of finding anything exciting. I've got an idea where I'd like to go and check next, and that's on the border with Juma. Again, an area where Shadow has been spending a lot of time. Now, we can only speculate as to why the animals' territories change and shift, and their behavior changes and shifts slightly as time progresses. And Shadow spending more time on the eastern parts of her territory towards Juma. One of the theories related to that is that because the Anderson male is coming deeper into Arethusa, there's a stronger likelihood that that male leopard could bump into her cub. And if he did come across her cub, he would kill it. Male leopards will kill cubs anywhere up to a year of age, and sometimes even slightly older than that, in order to release a leopardess of her responsibility to continue focusing on raising them, and therefore allow for the new male leopard's genes to go into the system. So that is one theory as to why Shadows moved further towards Juma, and we're certainly not complaining about that because we get to see her more often now, which is great. But it's not because she's getting pressure from another female, as far as we're aware. It's that she's concerned that the Anderson male, who is not the father of her cub, is now spending time where he could bump into them, and that wouldn't be good for that little cub called Sindile. I saw incredible footage of a leopard that I used to view, probably the leopard that I've seen more than any other leopard in my life. And she was called the Ravenscourt female, who lived to the south of the Sabi Sands. And I'm not sure how old her cub was, or whether it was a male or a female, but the cub was up a tree, and it looks probably around 6 months to 8 months of age, I'm guessing. Thank you, James. James has just spotted a waterbuck, which is an antelope we don't see very often. Just going to stop over here. But while James zooms in on the waterbuck, I'll get back to my story. And that female leopard, the Ravenscourt female, had a cub, I'm guessing somewhere between 6 and 8 months of age, so fairly large, and it was up a tree, and a male leopard went charging up the tree to try and kill the cub. The Ravenscourt female caught wind of this, and she was up the tree in a second and started fighting with the male that was trying to kill her cub, and the male collapsed, or they both fell down from the tree, and in one bite he bit her and killed her. So it's dangerous business even for the mothers. And that could well be, again, why Shadow is avoiding the Anderson male for now. When her cub is mature, in about another 8 months or so, or possibly longer, and she no longer needs to look after him, her thoughts about the Anderson male could change, and she could become very interested in mating with him. But for now, I think it makes most sense for her to avoid that area, especially with the cub around. They've got very shaggy coats, the waterbuck, and that's one of the characteristic features to look for when identifying them. They've also got very heart-shaped nostrils. Not very easy to see from this distance, but if she faces us head-on again, There we go. You'll notice they've got very heart-shaped nostrils. And they often do occur in small herds in this area around the Arethusa waterhole. I did see one in the background. You can still just make it out wagging his tail, and a few more appear to be coming into frame. Well, great news, folks. This waterbuck isn't moving, but the animals that Brent is with are. So we're going to take you back to the lions, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, guys. It looks like the lions are on the move. There is Buffelshoek waterhole, which is just below here. I'm just going to scoot along the road a little bit. Hopefully there's something there. And it is possible they could do what they did earlier and just walk for 40 meters and flop down again. And there we go. There's a procession of big cats all in a row. I'm just going to zoom up ahead. See if they keep walking and then stop. See what they do. I think they're going to keep moving. One lioness is laid down already. There's a good chance there could be buffalo bulls on this crest. And this is the area where I had all the tracks of them chasing buffalo. It's waiting to see if they maybe come back towards the road. Oh, or flop down. So actually moving further south into this block between Quarry Pan Road and Hippo Pools Road, where we found them, actually away from the dam. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe this is the area that they were chasing buffalo in last night. As you can see, they take almost no notice of the car, and this lioness is less than 5 feet from the tip of the car and completely ignoring us. There you go. Just walked right past me here. Isn't it great to be able to spend time with Africa's big cats like this? We're very, very special and privileged, and so wonderful to have you guys on the back of the vehicle with us. So we got quite a few answers that came through to that question earlier about what's the difference between the genuses Panthera and Asionyx and Felis. Apart from the obvious size, all the Panthera cats are quite large cats. But the main difference, and I'll get a few names in now, and there's quite a few of you who are on the right track, is that cats, the large cats, the Panthera genus cats, are able to roar. And this is due to have a modified hyoid bone in their larynx, and this enables them to roar. So basically, the bone in smaller cats and in cheetah is ossified. It's a solid bone, whereas in lions and leopards, it is it's remained cartilage. It's remained cartilage, and it can vibrate. So that is how they are able to produce that roar. So very interesting. Well done, guys. I'm just waiting for a few names, and if the lines stop moving again just now, I'll actually show you a diagram of the difference between the Panthera's hyoid apparatus and a normal cat or cheetah's. Where's that other line? Let's go. There she is. Well done, Marianne and Yvonne, Kathy and Jilly. A lot of you guys got it right. So those were just the first. Looks like they've heard something possibly. I just want to move around this fallen down knobthorn. See how that she's popped her head up like that. Definitely heard something. Very sphinx-like pose there. So, as we were saying earlier, that the lions do not have an ossified hyoid bone. They have a cartilaginous hyoid bone that enables them to roar. And they can't purr though. No, lost a little bit of interest in whatever they thought they might have heard. So we're discussing the hyoidian apparatus, the hyoid bone in cats. So A is of the Panthera genus and B is of the other cats, and you can see on the other cats it's a completely solid and ossified bone, whereas in the big cats this middle section stays elastic and cartilaginous, and when they roar, that's what vibrates and enabling them to create a loud, that very loud noise, where there's smaller cats and cheetah are able to purr, but they also aren't able to make very loud noises. So I hope that helps, and well done, guys. You guys are getting really clever. So there we go, the hyoid apparatus, or hyoidian bone. Hi, John in Gardena. John's saying it's not entirely true about Panthera as the snow leopard cannot roar. John, I'm not 100% sure on that. As far as I know, they do cough and rasp, similar to a normal leopard. I've heard audio from a friend of mine who was filming them, of them calling. It did sound very much like a roar to me. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, snow leopards do also rasp, have a rasping call similar to that of other leopards. But I will definitely double check, or you guys can actually double check for me. You have access to the interweb, as VM calls it. And you can see this lioness is now probably less than 2 feet from Andrew.
It's very scary.
Andrew says it's very scary, but he's a bit soft. But maybe you guys can check on that snow leopard, how their hyoid apparatus or hyoidian apparatus functions, and you can send whatever you can find to me via email to questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. Oh, isn't that cute? That is a very comfortable looking lioness resting on that young male's back. Oh, she's coming for you, Andrew. No, I'm only joking. She's actually moving away. There we go. One of the young females arriving. Going to possibly add to the lion pile. Now maybe this one's definitely got the eye for you, Andrew. There we go. So again, they're passing less than 2 feet from the back of the vehicle, showing very little interest in us. We're sort of just this funny smelling thing that follows them around from time to time. And as long as you don't pressurize them and push them with the vehicle or do silly things, they have no reason to be afraid of the vehicle or associate the vehicle with any negative connotations. It's difficult to be 100% sure, but I've heard a very good reason for this, and that is due to the fact that a vehicle's only been around for just over 100 years, so they don't actually have an instinctive response to a vehicle like they do that upright figure of man. But obviously those captive animals we were speaking about earlier have learnt behavior, where they have learnt that the vehicles hold food, and that's because they are fed off the back of vehicles. So deeper into the block we go. Here come the two stragglers at the back. With us, we're a straggler, straggling behind the lines. This is very typical behavior of lions that are a bit fatigued and tired, but are still hungry. Move a little bit, rest a little bit. Move a little bit, rest a little bit. Just trying to find a way to get through minimal crashing. The stragglers are holding us up here. Oh, go around the long way. It looks like they're climbing a termite mound down there. I just want to try and get into a good spot to see them. I know a lot of people are worried when we drive over trees and stuff in the bush here, but we never drive over the slow growing trees, and a lot of the trees we straddle, which means we use the center of the vehicle when we drive over them, and they do pop up quite quickly afterwards. And also we're not doing anything particularly different from what an elephant would do when coming through an area and pushing on trees and things. Oh, look at her, she's right on top of that termite mound. Try to get around the front side of her before she comes down. Oh. Here we go. So at the moment we are in the block between Hippo Pools Road and Quarry Pan Road, probably as the crow flies about 700 meters to the east of Buffelshoek Dam. The general direction is towards the junction of Quarry Pan and Nyala Road north, but I'm the only vehicle here, so we're being very spoilt. Maybe it'd be nice to have some company. Look at that, playing King of the Castle. Let's move around. Trying to get comfortable on top of the termite mound, but there's quite a lot of uncomfortable bumps up there. Such beautiful creatures. So a few drives ago we were having discussion about pink noses and what age lions lose the pink nose. And as a good example, I said it's not a definite. And when we finish looking, oh, there's going to be some trouble up top. We'll come back to pink noses. Just now, the two young females on top of the termite mound. Sorry, all that clicking and fiddling is me changing camera lenses. I'm going to try to get a wide angle lens on for this shot. Quite difficult for photographic light today with this overcast cloud. There's a stunning sight. So slowly moving, resting, moving, resting. So So can you zoom in on the nose there for me, please, Andrew?
Which one?
Start with those two on top. There, that one's perfect. So you can see there's still some pink in the nose, but it's quite black. Oh, now she's turned around, silly girl. But this adult female who's right next to me here has, in some cases, more pink than the younger lines on her nose. In some cases, more pink than the younger lines on her nose. And then she's going to come down. Lions love using termite mounds as vantage points to see if there's anything up ahead. So, guys, a few updates in from Lois, and I'll remember the other name in a second, about this, Elise, sorry, about this the snow leopard. I think there's a bit of confusion. Someone mentioned a clouded leopard, which is a completely different animal to a snow leopard. Clouded leopards live in Indonesia, in the rainforest there, and they are somewhere between a big cat and a small cat. So a bit different. A snow leopard is a big cat though, and Lois says he has worked with them. He has heard them purr, but I might be wrong, but I definitely remember listening to a snow leopard sawing. I was shown footage by a friend of mine who filmed them. Lots of lions all around us. So it looks like that little patch of inactivity is now over, and they might move again for a little bit. But if we have a look, they're quite spread out. We've got this one female who's still lying right next to us here, and then we've got one of the sub-adults behind the branch there, another adult female behind the sub-adults. If we go up, and there we go, lying up behind, but the young male just off the front of the vehicle. That's 4, and then I can see at least 3, possibly 4, through the bush ahead of me. I'm just going to try find a way to move around and see if we can get a better view of the others. So there we go. If we zoom in on her nose quickly, now this is an adult female. And you can see it's still quite a pink nose, even though it is an adult. So we were talking about it the other day. It's not always the best indication of age in lions. It might be easier to go around the back of the termite mound than through this thick scrub to our left. See that lioness who's dying up here has got up and started moving again. I'm just just going to try and look for the best position to possibly get through. Again, they're doing very typical lion behavior for hungry but tired lions. Little bits of movement and then resting for a short time, then moving again. I think they're possibly looking for those buffalo they were chasing last night. Up on a crest here, away from the cool period where buffalo would have rested during the night where it's a bit warmer. Oh, they're going into this very noisy black monkey orange shrubland. I'm just going to try and get through it and around it. Hopefully not drive through it too much. Very noisy stuff. So we're definitely going to stick around with these lions while they're moving. There's always that chance that some fantastic action might happen. And there isn't much better than being surrounded by lions on an overcast and cloudy morning. There's a lion watching Andrew behind him. He doesn't even know it. So very quiet. Can't really hear any birds or anything at the moment. Hi Dave, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Dave's just letting me know that snow leopards do have an elastic hyoid like the other Panthera, but they do not roar so much as chuff. So there we go. Thanks very much for that, Dave. So you can see some of the lionesses are still moving. One's already plonked down. Unfortunately, they're moving through a lot of these small monkey oranges, which make quite a lot of noise when we drive through them. But as you can see, it doesn't faze the lions, and also all the other animals that live in the Sabi Sands are so used to vehicles around them and driving around that they take very little notice of that, so we're not going to affect the animals in any way. And these little guys we're driving over are so resilient, they pop straight back up into position as we go over them. They've moved out of them now into slightly more open area, which is more grass and bush willows. Scott coming. What's your position at the moment?
I'm on all these roads.
Okay, copy, not to worry. So, buffaloes like water. Oh, look at that on top of the termite mound. Isn't that fantastic? Using these big termite mounds as vantage points to check if there's any possible prey species around. That's a really good one because of the grass on top gives her a bit of camouflage while she goes up there. Because one of the things is sometimes they do get spotted when they use these high vantage points. Others have moved quite far ahead. We're going to try catch up with them. Moving into quite another thick area. Looking far more determined with their movement at the moment. Quite close to Burry Pan Road now. I think I recognize that big acacia tree in front of us. Not 100% sure, but I think we might come out onto the road shortly. Stick with them to the end. Oh, looks like it. So they stop and listen, trying to see if there's any potential prey species up ahead. Okay guys, we're gonna cross across to Scotty quickly before the end, and we will be back. We're not leaving these lines for a second, so have a good time with Scott and James, and we'll be back shortly.
Welcome back with us, folks, and these Impala are really having a proper go at one another. Apologies for the bush being in the way, but they're moving so quickly. Now, even though it's technically the end of the rutting season, these guys are still battling it out here, and oh, look at that. There's a third one that may get involved at any point. And again, they're moving so quickly, they're actually coming straight towards us now. They're so caught up in what they're doing that... Oof! This is incredible. Now a fourth is coming in. And again, sorry for the bushes, but there's nothing we can do. Oh no. This is absolutely incredible.
Jeez.
Whoa! The intensity of that battle was probably the most intense I've ever seen. And they're continuing, so we're just going to try and reposition the vehicle. We came into this area because we heard alarm calls earlier, but it could just be that they were snorting at one another. And there's all the ladies they're fighting over in the background. This is an incredible display of their strength and how ferocious they can actually fight with one another. Listen to those horns clashing. On the sides almost spurring them on, but these two have got a serious battle going on, and even though it's uncommon, it can result in death. Those horns are very sharp, and the speed and power that they are going at one another, they could occasionally impale one another, and this is absolutely awesome. It's something that we've hardly got to show and share with you. Oof. Oof. That is crazy.
I've been recording quite a lot.
And again, I'm just going to reposition ever so slightly to keep us in the action. They are so caught up with their own battle. It just is a great example of how predators can often... This is remarkable. Of how predators can come in and literally jump on the back of either one of them without them even knowing that the predator's around. They are so fixated on their battle. And all the audio coming from them would alert any predators in this area to an easy meal. And I'm surprised we haven't been able to find any male Impala kills. Oh. Jeez, they just tore off into the bushes now, and again, I'm going to move and see if I can keep us in the right place. I've now moved off into some very thick bush, and because we've had such great action, there's all the ladies they've been fighting for, even though it could well be the end of the rut and these males may be wasting their time. All the mating may have already been done, and there's already a male in and amongst those ladies. And with all the action we have found ourselves running out of time, and I think the end of the broadcast should be happening right about this very second. But we are obviously happy to do whatever it takes to share with you anything of excitement. A fight with that ferocity. James, have you ever seen it? There we go.
No.
So that was a first for the two of us, and we've spent many years out here, so really lucky. And for all of those of you who have been with us, I hope you realize how awesome and how lucky you were to see that and be a part of that with us. Now everything's appeared to have calmed down now, and what we're going to do is say our thank yous and goodbyes. And James, thank you for your great camera work, and thanks to Nikki and Eugene in Final Control, and well done to Brent for finding the lions. From myself, Scott, goodbye till this afternoon, and we're going to link across to Brent so he can also say goodbye, and I hope you've enjoyed the sunrise safari. We'll see you this afternoon.
Welcome back, everyone. We're at another termite mound, and the lionesses are checking around to see if there's any potential prey species. I think they're going to rest around here, just judging from their general behavior. So it's been a fantastic morning. Thanks very much for joining us. We really do appreciate all your questions and your interaction with us, and we're definitely going to be looking for these lions again on the sunset safari. So for myself and Andrew, have a fantastic rest of your day or morning or evening, wherever you are in the world, and hopefully you'll be joining us for the sunset safari to see what the Nkuhuma Pride get up to.